All right, so I'm gonna switch tracks a little bit from talking about code. We're gonna talk a little bit about our teams. And when you think about teams, I think a lot about soccer. And so sports are beautiful because they're a diversion. At the end of the day, what happens in sports doesn't really matter, but it gives us a diversion from our stresses and the obligations we have in daily life. They're also great at allegory. We can look at sports and see success and failure right in front of us constantly and observe it and see how we could possibly apply it to our lives. And that's what we're going to do today. Soccer is a great representation. When you think of sports and you want to relate it to teams in our lives, soccer is a great example because it's a game that cannot be won individually. You have to work together. You have to work cohesively as a unit to be able to accomplish your goal to win the game or win the tournament or whatever you're playing in. And so a successful team, some core elements that Christina Wadke outlined in a recent article, Design Your Team You Need to Succeed. She said that there are three separate core elements. The first is to have common goals that everyone agrees upon and knows. The second is to have roles that are clearly defined within your team and also clearly communicated to the people on the team. And third, which is the one we'll be focusing on today, are the norms or the rules of conduct or behavior that are expected on your team. So when you think about teams and success, and I'm going to be talking mainly about Major League Soccer because that kind of applies to this area and our country here, the first team I'm going to talk about actually started out pretty poorly. In fact, they were terrible. In fact, kind of like this year. They're terrible this year. But anyway, they got better. So Real Salt Lake, in 2006, they were in the second year of their existence. In terms of a business, they were in a second-year startup, and they were struggling. They were underperforming. They had great talent. They had the league's leading goal scorer, but they couldn't get anything done because they were in the last place in the league, and they were struggling. So in 2007, they made a drastic decision where they took their team captain and made him the coach. And that team captain changed the culture immediately. What he did is he evaluated every member of the roster and checked to see, will they fight? Will they be willing to work hard? And are they willing to learn? And if they didn't fit that criteria on that team, then they were let go. And that was a hard decision to make because that league-leading goal scorer who was producing all the goals for the team, he was let go. But in the end, that was good because as Salt Lake improved and it set this culture of success inside of their organization, they eventually made it to the MLS Cup in 2009, beating the LA Galaxy up in Seattle. Speaking of Seattle, whoops, I know I'm in Portland, so they're a nice team, and we'll move on. So Portland, any Timbers fans here? Couple, good. 2015 was a great year for the Timbers. They also had a lot of similar attributes that Salt Lake did, where they worked hard for each other and they fought. However, their overarching norm that they had is that they defended. They defended from front to back, and from beginning to end. They had a culture where everyone knew the goal that they scored in the MLS Cup final just 26 seconds into the game. A goal that's a record that still stands today, although it's only been 2 years. So, thinking back to our teams, when Google Slides works. There's a few questions you can ask yourselves about your teams. Are our goals understood by everyone and by all team members? Are the roles that we have on our team clearly defined and communicated? And finally, do we have a culture of norms that people buy into and that they understand so that they can get your team, your company to your desired goal? I know if we ask ourselves these questions, we can make our struggling teams improve and our good teams become even better. Thank you.